So that's the moon in Scorpio, the sun in Scorpio, I think Mars is in Scorpio. So there's this nice little cozy energy amplifying Scorpio right now. Like Scorpio needs any amplification. Is anyone a Scorpio here? And we probably have a few. No. I actually wanted to mention for those that are involved with BodyTalk, Esther Veltheim, the co-founder of the BodyTalk system. I'm going to share. Oh, I'm just gonna, somebody's just come on, but there we are. I'm just gonna mute. Is that what I know about Esther is that she's a double Scorpion. So I always think that that's interesting because Esther created something called the breakthrough system. Some of you are probably, yes, Scorpio rising definitely counts. So yeah, she created the breakthrough system, which is a very, intense, like it's very Scorpion-esque in the sense that it's really, questioning to get to the root. And there's definitely something very Scorpion about that in its nature of wanting to penetrate, to seek the truth. So I just thought I would share that. If for those of you that haven't experienced breakthrough or don't know that much about it, there's lots of information on the International BodyTalk website about it. It's an amazing process. And what I find is that even though I don't practice breakthrough a lot, that it really underpins, having taken the course and having an understanding of the theory, it underpins a lot of what arises in sessions, the theory and philosophy. So yeah, I just thought I would share that. So welcome. And yeah, so we have a full moon in Scorpio, or sorry, new moon in Scorpio officially tomorrow. And I actually think I have the exact time, at least in EST. So tomorrow, yes, it is at 4:27 a.m. So early in the morning. And there's also another dynamic happening as well, which is that the new moon, as well as the sun and Mars, are all opposite Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus is the agent of change, often sudden change. So that opposition can amplify the sort of natural transformational qualities of Scorpio. And Pluto maintains its position in Capricorn. So, that's like the career aspects of ourselves, but it's also about the structures of power. How that plays out in your own life is going to depend on your chart, but because it's not so much a personal planet, it has an influence on all of us. So I just thought I'd share those things just in case they decide to come up in the session. So once again, welcome everyone. My name is Linda Marlene Eales, and I practice the BodyTalk system amongst other things, but that's my primary practice, and it's great to have you here. So if you would like to tune into yourself, take a few deep breaths, and consider with the new moon, its energy is an opportunity to start something new, or to reignite something that you've been wanting to initiate or change, that perhaps has been put on the back burner. With the energy in Scorpio, there may be something that you've been avoiding, or like one of the aspects of Scorpio is to be able to reveal some of the shadow aspects of ourselves, and that can be things that we're avoiding or that we haven't been able to fully dive into. And so it may be an opportunity for that for you. So whatever that is, that may want to surface up for you in this session. And Yeah, so just tune in and whatever comes up for you. And I'm going to go into Mindscape and begin this session. So when I talk about Mindscape, I think most of you on the call know about Mindscape as one of the BodyTalk Life Sciences courses, and it is to give structure for accessing your intuition. So I have relatively new energy in my Mindscape. It is this a marvelous black dragon, and so he's shown up. um, And in traditional Chinese medicine, that would represent the water dragon. And dragons are traditionally very strong energies, depending on the mythology, but there's just a real strength. So when we're looking at Scorpio, we're also looking at the water energy and the kidney meridian, and some of the qualities of that survival. The essence, kidney Jing, can lead to power, like power dynamics, control, and then more in the shadow side, manipulation, even withdrawal. So the first thing that's coming up is a permissions balancing. And so it's a permission about facing fear. I'm just going to see if I need to refine that. So the visual that I get with this is, it's like I see this little spider running around, and the spider is in the library. So in my mindscape, the library represents access to knowledge, often at the intellectual level, but not limited to that. So this little spider keeps running around, avoiding. It's like, no, I'm going to go over here. No, I don't want to go over there. I'm going to run over here. And so it is this permission to observe and face fear. And so wherever that feels, wherever you feel that in your body, just connect with that, or in your psyche. So what's coming up is to balance that. I'm actually going into a subsession, and this is leading me into the bladder and the bladder chi. It's to balancing a pathological consciousness of emotional control. So balancing beliefs, attitudes that create a desire to control emotions, and this is in particular fear. And we're anchoring this into individuation in your heart. And we're going to tap this out. So you can place a hand over your bladder area, the lower abdomen, or your heart, and join me in tapping with deep breaths. Permission to face fear. I give myself permission to face fear. Felt a nice sort of drop in my body, like a release of tension. Okay, so the next priority is starting to come up. And so there is a quality coming in of earth, the earth element, and the really the earth, and more specifically the spleen and spleen chi and its role in cleansing, and its relationship to the metal element. So on the Chinese 5-element cycle, the Sheng cycle, earth nourishes metal. And so it's helping to balance this relationship. So that's the broader theme. And then I'm going into, so earth, and more specifically spleen chi and this cleansing, supporting the metal element, and not more specific on the metal. And so then what comes up within this is it's actually doing a 5-element balancing with a focus on your meridian system. So it's like really just narrowing my focus on your meridian system for this 5-element balancing. And in this case, the balancing is to balance the or control cycle. So with the 5-element control cycle, as opposed to one being like a nurturing cycle where each element supports and feeds the next element, and it represents the cycles, the seasons, and how that reflects in our body from the macro to the microscopic. This is really more of regenerative cycle. If there is an imbalance somewhere in this cycle in our bodies and how that's being expressed, the co-cycle or the control cycle can help to bring balance. And so I'm just going to bring in an example. So I'm going to start at wood, and I'm actually starting at wood. So wood controls earth, and then earth controls water. And then water controls fire, and fire controls metal. So just looking a little bit more within that. So if wood controls earth, you think about, well, what's wood? It's a tree. And wood represents our potential for growth and our movement forward in life, and our ability to see our future and to grow into our potential. So wood will, dig deeper, its roots deeper into earth to draw the nourishment required for our growth. So if it draws too much, then that can actually deplete our earth. If earth is in an excess state of worry, or it's depleted because of this excess state of worry, then wood isn't able to draw from that. And so we may be stuck in a state of excess worry with not enough action coming from the wood element. So when I'm looking at this balancing in the co-cycle, it's to actually help to facilitate shifting and moving any sort of deficiencies that are relevant to you. So because it's a whole meridian balancing through the 5 elements, and how that will reflect in your particular case. And also there's another thing coming up. So is that I'm actually, even though I'm starting sort of at wood, I don't necessarily think it's a start stop. I think it'll run how it needs to run for you. But where my focus is being brought to is the kidney 1 point. So the kidney 1 point on the kidney meridian is the very base of your foot. And it sits just underneath the ball of your foot, more or less in the center. And it's also, I think it's called like the gushing spring in traditional Chinese medicine. And so the gushing spring, if you think about a spring bursting forth from the earth, the energy and vitality and force that's required for that water to be able to actually push through the earth, that's what this represents. And so by starting at this point, it's actually starting at a real essence point of promoting the power and that force from that gushing spring in this regenerative cycle through the 5 elements within your meridian system. And I'm getting more on this, so it's actually going to be like a repetitive formula and like a cyclic formula. So it's going to run over the next 3 days through each 24-hour Chinese clock, meridian clock. And what you can do if you'd like to do it is you can energize your kidney 1 point at the base of your feet. And if you're physically not able to actually physically stimulate that point on both feet, you can even imagine that you're stimulating that point just over the next few days to reactivate. It's not necessary to do it, but it'll probably feel good. And just reinvigorate this formula. So I'm just going to find out if there's any more details on this. So there is a satellite, a resource satellite of Pluto coming in its quality power. And regeneration. So this whole particular formula is all about a focus of regeneration. So we're going to tap this in, and the hand positions are to stimulate one or both of your kidney 1 meridians at the base of your feet while we tap. And if you can't find it, that's okay. But yeah, if you reach down to your foot and you go to the ball of the foot, just allow your finger to slide down in the middle of your foot and in just even like a 1/4 inch more, and you may find a tender spot. So once you find that, just begin taking deep breaths with that focus on the exhalation. So as we balance this co-cycle or regenerative cycle of your 5 elements through your meridian system to help to harmonize any imbalance that is pertinent to you, and using that kidney 1 gushing spring and the power that can bring the chi through your whole system. I'm just going to switch feet because this feels particularly good to me. So as I'm tapping this, I'm hearing a lot of auditory sounds, like through the sense of hearing. So there's something about the sense of hearing, and the sense of hearing is governed by the water element, by the kidneys. And it's like I can hear some shifts of, auditory, sense of hearing conflicts through this balancing. So that's just a really interesting thing that's coming up. So, and I don't actually think it's me or mine. So whoever's it is, or whether it's the collective, but it's helping to shift and bring clarity, and how that may be impacting this your 5 elements in your meridian system. Very nice shift. Okay, and if you feel like you just want to keep tapping, what I'm noticing is an increase of heat in my legs. I can feel just more circulation throughout my legs after tapping that in. So just be aware of any shifts that are happening for you after that formula, and know that it will continue to support you and run over the next few days. Okay, so let's see what's next. So, I didn't, when I was tapping, I didn't bring in the quality of that relationship of that spleen chi and the cleansing and a balancing to metal. So it will support that dynamic as well, but I just didn't get anything more specific. However, that's staying with us for the next formula. So certainly when we're looking at cleansing from the earth and spleen chi perspective, not only are we looking at the lymphatic system, we're also it's also helping to balance subconscious thoughts and subconscious worries. So there may be some stagnation that is being wanting to be seen and observed for shifting and helping to cleanse out, not only in your mind, but also throughout your body, and more particular from the spleen perspective, your lymphatic system. And so then, and how that then will support the metal and the metal quality of refinement and dispersion. So let's see what's next. So we're going right into a body chemistry, and the body chemistry is taking me into your brain and into the cerebral spinal fluid. Okay, so if you would like to do a little saliva sample, if you have a tissue, that's great, from underneath your tongue. I'm just going to use my baby finger because my hands are clean. And you can place that sample in your navel. It's not necessary, but now I'm going to tune in. I know it's toxins. I keep getting that toxins. So there's an orientation, and it's to war and conflict. So war as in, the conflicts that we have going around the world right now. So that's coming up in relation to this toxicity within the cerebral spinal fluid. But now I'm actually going to get more specific into something seems to be more physical. So it's coming up as heavy metal metabolites, okay? So that's how it's coming up. So how your brain is trying to metabolize heavy metals. And the heavy metals are even more specifically from pesticides in the environment. So whether that's in your food, in your water, wherever that is. But the priority is to actually help your cerebral spinal fluid to be able to metabolize and address these. And as this also relates to the toxicity of war at more of that macro level. So we have another link, still staying within the brain. This time I'm going into encompassing the cerebral spinal fluid, but also into the brain's lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system is the brain's lymph system. And so it works a little differently than our other lymph system, but nonetheless, it does cleansing. And I'm actually getting more specific to the frontal and prefrontal cortex. And there is this definition of discernment. So it's a consciousness of discernment. So it's like, we're looking at emotions and thoughts, information coming in, and how your frontal and prefrontal cortex are processing and discerning the relevance to you. And so the priority is to support cleansing. And that process, from the perspective of your lymph system, what do I need to keep? What's important to me? And what is ready to let go of? And so that's not just at the physical level, but also at the emotional and mind levels. Okay, so there's a further definition here of fear. So being able to discern, your response to fear, the emotion of fear, and how it can serve you, as opposed to shut you down, right? So, its natural expression is to energize you, to bring awareness of, and energy to, is this supporting me or is this not supporting me? Do I need to move away from this, or is this safe for me? So it's also supporting that level of discernment with that emotional relationship. So this is linking into your limbic brain. Okay, so, and I'm just getting a satellite of your hypothalamus. So hypothalamus, so the limbic brain is the emotional brain. And the hypothalamus, in a way, you could call it the mind over matter, or emotion over matter. In that, when we have an emotional response to incoming information, incoming sensory information, or even our own thoughts about something, the hypothalamus will respond by sending out messengers to the rest of the body, saying, hey, I've got this going on, so I want you to produce this hormone or this chemical. So it, in a sense, is quite a manifester because it can help to manifest, the energy needed to, to deal with stressors, or the energy to, let's say it's getting hot in here, so to cool your body down, to tell you that you're thirsty. So there's, it's just a real manifester. And so I'm just going to tap into what this is here, what this balancing is in relation to that last balancing of the discernment and fear. So I need to actually go into a subsection on the limbic hypothalamus balancing. Okay, so it's taking me into a group matrix. So when I talk about a group matrix, in BodyTalk we use matrix too often. We're looking at a group, and it may be it's a family. So it's a family matrix balancing. So often we're looking at a particular relationship that wants to be balanced, or we're looking at the sort of primary matrix holders, like a traditional family would be mother and father, or grandparents, something like that. In this case, what's coming up is your roles, like roles within your family, and it's your nuclear family. It's going to be a bit mixed here. It's kind of like your nuclear, but also your chosen family, because there's a number of generations potentially involved, as there's just a number of us that we're balancing here. And so when I'm going into this role or roles, the priority within these roles is really, there's two priorities. One is attachments or identifications with family roles that you have. So for example, being a mother, and so what that means to you and how you identify with that. And then the other aspect of this is your Wei Qi within those roles. And so when we think about the Wei Qi is a protective energy. It's also, I like to refer to it as an intelligent energy. I may have done a balancing on this in the last session, I can't recall, but in that it helps you to discern, what information is coming in and what is staying out. And so it relates to your roles within your family, the attachments that you have, or your identification with those roles, and helping to bring some balance and, in a way, to be able to step back a little bit or a lot, depending on where you're at, so that you can be an observer and have more awareness within that role or roles. And then the other is within that balancing, how that will shift the intelligence of your Wei Qi in what's coming in and what needs to, it needs a stronger boundary. So I'm really, I feel like I'm walking through the dark in this balancing because it's a new one for me. So I hope I'm doing a good job of explaining it. So I'm just going to, within this balancing, see if there's anything else that wants to come in. So within the identification within the role, the being able to be more of the observer for a greater sense of awareness, there is also a link to your spine and its quality of integrity. So, integral, right? Like who you are in a way, and what holds you together. So there's like an inward awareness and pull as it's coming in to balance your spine. And then what comes up is I'm just seeing this, I'm seeing all the reciprocals being balanced. So for those that aren't familiar with reciprocals, there are 17 pairs of reciprocals in BodyTalk that we balance, and these are partners in your body. So for example, you have your right shoulder and your left hip, different areas on those, and vice versa, the right shoulder, left hip. And so as you move forward in life, the shoulder and the opposite hip are continuing interacting and to keep you in balance and feel supported. Same with your arms. So there's all these different points. And so there's this really, it's like not coming up, it's coming up all at once. So I just see all of these reciprocals really lighting up to support this Wei Qi balancing within this particular context. So that is the subsession on your limbic hypothalamic brain. And there's this definition on that whole part of the formula of it's like letting go of reactivity. So, and then there's like this big breath comes up here. Letting go of reactivity. So the image I'm getting is that when we're really, or if we're all attached, it's kind of when we are attached to a role. This is who I am. This is what I believe about who I am. And then if somebody challenges that and they do something or they say something that makes me think that they shouldn't do that, and this is who I am, and it's challenging who I am, then we're going to react. They're pushing our buttons. And so the less attached we are, it's not to say that we don't know who we are, but we become less triggered by the external world. So it's like, yes, I am that. That is part of my role, but it's not necessarily who I am. So this metal quality of helping to release this reactivity. And so as that relates to the limbic brain and that emotional response, the hypothalamus, and how that then becomes sort of this chemical manifester, and then that whole family dynamic balancing ultimately for you. So that is that's what we're going to tap out now. And so we began in your brain with the cerebral spinal fluid and then going into that toxins balancing. So the priority is just to hold your head to represent wherever you feel comfortable with it, and then taking deep breaths. So just reviewing the balance of that cerebral spinal fluid and helping your cerebral spinal fluid to metabolize toxins as they relate to the wars and conflict, but also at that more physical level, heavy metal toxicity from pesticides, and then going into the brain's prefrontal cortex of that consciousness of discernment of fear, to shift into fear being more of a support for you, and then finally going into the subsession on the limbic and hypothalamus and balancing your roles and your ability to step back and be more of an observer, less identified, and therefore less reactive within your family dynamics. So, I'm just, as I'm tapping this and I'm kind of moving into my cortices, I can't help but think of, when we're thinking of Scorpio, and we are thinking often power dynamics. And so this excess attachment to how things should be, that can actually be, we think it's our ego, and our ego is our power, and yet our ego can be the one that, we start giving our power away because we're too attached. So there's a bit of an irony there, but that's definitely the themes of Scorpio. is helping to release the control, be more aware, be more present. So I'm just observing, and I'm just continuing to see the reciprocals being tapped out. It's like they're being grounded to your navel as they're all being tapped out in support of that Wei Qi aspect of balancing within your family dynamics. So the navel represents our connection to ourselves and to our family and to the world. So just that awareness is integrating for that integrity. Okay, so we have another balance coming up. I thought that was the end, but it's not, and it's hydration of your heart. So if you happen to have any water nearby, you can put a little bit of water over your heart. So the definition of this is all that is. That is the definition. So I'm not going to question that. I'm just going to invite you to tap out the hydration of your heart. So hands to the side of your head and then moving your hand back with deep breaths. So whatever all that is means for you in your heart, as you move around your cortices with the awareness of enhancing hydration throughout your heart and heart complex. When I think about hydration in my body, if I get a particular area to hydrate, I always imagine that it's, like a really juicy orange. When you open up an orange and all the little cells are just filled with water. So I just imagine that area of my body, in this case, our heart, just the cells just filled and juicy with hydration of all that is. And that is our session for today. So thank you everyone for joining me. You're welcome. And I haven't even looked at the next calendar. Yeah, you're very welcome. But I will let you know, it'll probably be in a couple of weeks. I'm being very fluid with my schedule, and I really am grateful that that you all showed up. So thank you very much, and we'll see you hopefully in a few weeks. Yeah, you're so welcome. You're so welcome, Linda.